joining me now is the man behind one of India's tech giants, HCL, who's also now an active angel investor, Mr. Ajay Chaudhary. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll begin by asking you, your experience of having, started HCL in the 1970s to when you look at entrepreneurs today trying to venture into the hardware sector, what are the challenges and what's the difference like?
Well, actually, when we started out, there was nothing called VCs and there was nobody who was giving any funding for any companies. And we started with our own funds of about 1.6 lakhs. And really today, HCL is a $6.5 billion corporation. So what we really did in these on those early days was to take risks and also to come up with areas where we could open up markets. So initially for hardware, we actually went about opening the first time user market. And that was extremely successful. And in some parts of the world like Singapore also we went there and we were actually not just selling computers, we were selling computerization. So what I would say to startups is that it's not relevant as to what is the initial resources you have. It is the aspiration that you have to succeed.
In India, would you say that there's a lot of attention given to startups that are into software services? E-commerce is the buzzword, but hardware does not seem to be in the big picture. What are some of the reasons why the number of startups in India that are into hardware are considerably low?
Well, basically there's so much buzz around e-commerce and internet that people are focused on creating companies around there. But there are a lot of newer hardware companies that are today coming up who are interested in creating startups in the hardware space. And if you look at history, a lot of companies like even HCL created hardware products for the global market. It's really your interest area. If your interest area is hardware and you have belief in what you are trying to do, then I see no reason why you should not get into it. Yeah. And fundamentally, you should not get carried away by the current buzzword. There can be a new buzzword tomorrow which could be hardware.
Does it depend on the market size as well?
You see, the size of the market is definitely an issue. And also, but if you look at the domestic market in India, it's a very large market. So there is a market for medical devices, there's a market for all kinds of electronics, there's a market for newer products, there's a market for IoTs. So there is a range of solutions that you can actually create for the Indian market and then look at the global market.
I think it's because we as a country are importing a lot of hardwares from countries like US and China and say not developing on our own.
Very good point. Actually, if you look at hardware, zero duty for imports came into hardware very early. And we were one of the first countries to sign up for WTO ITA. As a result of that, import of hardware became so cheap that there was no incentive to design and manufacture in India. Yeah. And that's really where the problem came up.
It's also another thing where we see that venture funding into startups that are into hardware is considerably low. When we talk about sectors like e-commerce, the numbers are just in billions.
Actually, it's just the numbers at this moment. The number of startups in the hardware space are still very small. And as the numbers start growing and they start creating products for the large markets that we are into, then I think you will see funding start to happen.
So before we let you go, your final word of advice to all those entrepreneurs who are hoping to venture out into hardware and what are the do's and don'ts and what should they probably keep in mind before they launch a product or of their own?
I think you have to have belief in your idea. And if you have belief in your idea, I'm absolutely certain you will succeed.
It was a pleasure having you on the show, sir. Thank you so much for talking. And finally, the story of a startup that believes sky is not the limit for them. Here's how a bunch of engineers are creating drones like this to generate intelligent aerial data. Let's take a look at how that can help various sectors and also how these intelligent machines are capable of much more than probably just delivering pizza at your doorstep.
Drones will be omnipresent, give it 10 years. That's how much 23-year-old Jaspreet believes in the potential of these intelligent machines. An engineering graduate from the capital of the country, the young entrepreneur is now chasing his startup dream with We Do Sky. Founded in 2014, the startup initially gave robotics workshops to school and college students. But realizing that with the help of technology and given his engineering background, he could do a lot more, he decided to venture into hardware, and that's when drones tempted him. We Do Sky develops drones to generate intelligent aerial data for its clients. the drones do a major part of the job. They collect aerial images and videos during their flight, which are later processed by the team. What you're looking at now is a 360-degree view of a property under construction. Real estate clients use this data to get a better understanding of their project area, location, get construction status, and use the final images to attract customers. This is a 3D model of a locality in Noida, made from a video recorded by a drone. Builders and engineers often use this data for city planning and to aid their design and work. Architects, archaeologists are today using 3D views of monuments to plan and preserve natural heritage.
A lot of industries in the country are running on experience-driven decisions. So take for example, if there's a mine owner, he'll run the mine on the experience of the miners, the people who are managing the mine. They'll say, okay, this is the stockpile size, so roughly this will be the number of days that we'll run through before running out of the mine. So it's all experience-driven. But then I feel that there's a bigger need for data-driven decisions. So take for example, the same stockpile owner gets data from us. We can have a machine fly over mines, collect data, tell them the volumetric analysis of those stockpiles, and then tell them precisely, okay, this is the volume of your stockpile. It will continue serving you the output for the next 20 days, 1 month, 3 months, 4 months.
The initial set of funding, says the founder, came by selling old college projects and later on drones to photographers on OLX, an online portal for selling goods. Till now, the startup was self-funded, but after bagging real estate biggies like Common Floor, Supertech and Prop Tiger, the team is now looking to raise funding to expand. But like any hardware startup, one of their biggest battles was to outsource raw material to manufacture drones in-house.
Well, hardware startups, if we compare it with software startups, then of course the difficulties are a little more. So take for example, a hardware startup can be run from any off-the-mill available desktop or laptop that you buy. On the other hand, we need manufacturing capabilities as well. So even though we make most of our machines in-house, we still have to import carbon fiber, raw material, sensors from outside. So that's because we do not have the potential or the capability of manufacturing these things in the country at the moment.
The concept of flying drones is still very new in the country. Funding, infrastructure issues apart, the team says it's also been tough to convince many of their clients about their product.
Drones are a new technology in India and it sometimes gets a little bit not so easy, I won't say difficult. But then at the end of the day, I think it's a very positive point that we have those tools and that we have those different equipment which could provide data to those companies which actually need data-driven decisions.
According to the team, a drone can fly for up to 20 minutes at a stretch at a height of 400 to 500 feet. But the silver lining has a dark cloud. What else but cost? Making one drone costs them anywhere between 2.5 to 3 lakh rupees. And with some crashes inevitable, there is a lot at stake.
On a bad day, anything can happen. Anything like we can lose our machine also. But for that, we take care of the wind speed and everything else. So like bad day is like we're not getting any GPS or any help from the satellites. So in those cases, we have to fly the drone on our own.
The startup also aims to venture into untapped markets and use technology to create awareness in other sectors beyond real estate. With Simarpreet Sembi, Abhishek Singh for NDTV.
Can hardware be the next big disruption in the world of startups? Well, we'll only have to wait to find that out. But in the meantime, you can keep writing it to us at startup@ndtv.com and tell us your startup story. For the moment, it's a wrap on the show. Thanks for watching.
Catch the Heads Up episodes you might have missed during the week at these times only on NDTV Prime.